Right here I'm sitting with the legend. Huw Millington, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah.
And Chris, good to see you too.
Yes, they're good to see you as well. Not such a legend.
No, but CapnRex. We will talk about this in a second. But first of all, last year we talked about 20 years of Brickset database. Your database is still out there, and everything is fine.
It certainly is fine, yes, still going strong, and we're updating it all the time, trying to keep it relevant for our users.
We see new stuff like Unikitty and other stuff, so you add all the things. There's one thing missing, I think. You don't add, for example, T-shirts, so no licensed products. Am I right?
We tend not to add that sort of thing. There's too many of them, really. That's the reason, and there's no easy way to keep track. So those that are sold by Lego at Shop at Home, we can add those easily enough, but we tend not to bother with T-shirts and hats and costumes and the rest of it. Where would you draw the line? There's so much out there now with a Lego logo on it.
Would be hard for your employee here, and this is Chris. You work exactly since 1 year for Brickset, full time, known as CapnRex, and you are doing, for example, all the Star Wars stuff because you're a Star Wars nerd. You're really into it.
Yes, I think that would be fair to say. I think that was perhaps in many ways why I was originally brought onto the Brickset staff, was just because Huw, I think, is a Star Wars fan, but not a sort of mega fan in the way that some people are, and yeah, it's great.
You're around, and it's great to see and read your reviews, which took me like 1 day for each, but it's fine because you're very detailed and nice images. And what I mentioned, what I recognized last time, now you have a kind of a corporate design when you do your photos. Am I right? You have the same background, or am I wrong?
Yes, you're right. Yes, yeah. Chris used to use a blue one, didn't he? And I bought him a piece of grey cloth, so it looked much the same as mine. And yes, going back to what you said about Chris coming onto the team, I felt it was important really to have an expert in Star Wars and superheroes and what have you, because the readers are certainly experts, so they expect to read something that's written by an expert. So that was one reason for having an expert on the team.
Are there discussions going on when you're getting your set of Lego, would like to show something? Who's doing the review? Like, this is for me? No, I'm the boss, this is for me?
It's usually pretty clear cut, actually. I tend to let Chris do all of the minifigure stuff. I will, if I can, do the architecture, creator expert, the sets that interest me more, and pass most of the others out to Chris or to others that write reviews for us.
And am I right here? You're doing all the Star Wars stuff and superheroes also, as you've mentioned, the minifigures and Unikitty.
I think it's possible I might end up doing some Unikitty as well, yes. I think with things like that, you've got to get into the mindset of who they're aimed at, rather than us, who they're perhaps not aimed at. But yes.
So most readers, I think, of Brickset are adult fans of Lego, or do we have many families and kids as well?
I think we have quite a cross-section, actually. I think people that log in will probably be adult fans, but we actually have quite more people that don't log in, casual users who may well be parents or children or something like that. So it's hard to tell the demographics, really, isn't it? But I think the active participants will all be adult fans, but those that just sort of cruise by and view from time to time, possibly not.
You're building all the big Star Wars sets, but there is one rumor in the fan media that you went away, that you had to build the Millennium Falcon. Am I right? So you just took a holiday and took off, so you had to build the big one. Am I right?
yes, I doubt he was too distressed about that, though. But yeah, that is true. I just poorly scheduled holiday. What can I say?
Yes, yeah. Chris was away for a month. Really, we couldn't wait that long to get it built and reviewed, so I had to take the burden there and do it. But wasn't too much of a hardship. It was an interesting build.
Have you built it on your own since then?
Yes, yeah, and actually since getting the new one, because the price of the old one, the 2007 version, came down, so I've got that one as well, and that one's not built yet, but waiting, and I'll maybe display them together or whatever I've got room for, really.
Display them together on the floor, in your front room, yes, yeah.
I would like to talk to you about a few sets right now, but for the record, it's brickset.com, where you can see all the reviews of CapnRex and Huw. So you don't have a special name, so it's up to him. He's calling himself CapnRex.
Unimaginative, isn't it, my name? Yes, I didn't come up with anything better, but Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Like
A bit late to change, I think now.
yeah,
But,
maybe Luke Skywalker or something. It's up to you. So, but we've seen the roller coaster. We just talked to Jamie both, so we're going to read the long interview on Brickset as well. What do you think of this massive set?
I think it's quite an achievement, really, that they've managed to build something so big, so stable, that works well. And from what we hear from Jamie this morning, that was quite a challenge to get it all together.
Yeah, like they have to use the prototype for first place and then have to change a few things.
Yes.
What do you think of the size? I mean, we've seen a lot of bigger sets now, like the roller coaster, the tiny Millennium Falcon, and the Taj Mahal. So it's you need space at home.
You need a lot of space if you intend to buy them all, and I think there's been a general migration in size, hasn't there, of sets, and the number of sets now that are coming out with more than, 1,000 pieces is increasing every year, isn't it? And you need a lot of space and money, of course, to buy them all and display them all.
Is there any set? I mean, you're younger than Huw. Is there any set you would like to have, which is maybe in your collection at home? So you would like to add to your collection one day?
In terms of older sets, I mean, I'm sort of always working at getting a complete Star Wars collection, but I find a lot of the older sets, sort of from the 90s, 80s, 70s, to be very interesting. But I sort of feel if I had any of them, I'd just have them and put them away, if you know what I mean. So probably not really. I mean, I've got too much already. And
Young boy, but still bricks around. And when you talk about is there any set you would like to add and you don't have? Is there any set in the Brickset headquarters which you don't own, which you would love to have?
Nothing comes to mind, actually. No, I think I've managed to track down all that I want. So yes, it's yeah.
I've got the Emerald Knight, so I'm fine somehow
Right.
too.
Yes, yes.
When we talk about other big sets, let's talk about the Y-Wing. Matthias did the review for Zusammengebaut. You did it for Brickset. I think there wasn't any kind of hype this time. From my point of view, it is a very good-looking set. It is stable, and it looks really good on display. What do you think?
yes, I think it's really about as good as you're going to get a Y-Wing to be. I mean, there are still one or two improvements that could be made to the cockpit and that sort of thing, but I think perhaps the lack of excitement surrounding it was just based on the fact that it obviously isn't the first Ultimate Collector Series Y-Wing they'd done, and I think there are one or two really popular and well-known vehicles from Star Wars, like the Y-Wing or the TIE Fighter, for instance, where they're fantastic vehicles and in some respects worthy of UCS models, but on the other hand, the system ones are already, like the smaller minifigure scale ones, are already so good that it doesn't feel like a huge improvement when you go to a much larger scale. So I think that maybe is why there wasn't the huge excitement around this one that there has been for things like the Millennium Falcon or others in the past.
You think so too?
Another Y-Wing, I suppose, is what people thought when they saw it. You know, as Chris has said and writes about, there's a number of other vehicles which could have been given the UCS treatment that we haven't seen yet, and maybe it was a sort of a wasted slot almost. You know, they could have come up with something else instead.
I'm still thinking of the big AT-ST, for example. Is there any other vehicle you would love to see in the whole UCS lineup?
Yes, well, for years and years and years, people have been asking for an AT-AT, and I think with that one, as we've actually spoken with the Star Wars designers on a couple of occasions, it's just about getting the structural stability for that kind of thing. But yes, I think the AT-AT more than anything. I would be personally very interested to see a few UCS sets from the prequel trilogy, as well as, you know, the recent films. But I think for those, perhaps particularly for the recent films, there's lots of, or a fair number of good vehicle designs in there that would be great UCS sets, but you've sort of got to wait a little while until they develop this more iconic status that the UCS sets really demand.
Prequel trilogy, oh my goodness, so young you are. Is there any Star Wars UCS that you would love to see in the future?
Well, Cloud City, I think it will be one that has been visited once in the past, and the first set was terrible, has to be said. That's why I suppose maybe that's why it's in such demand now, because nobody bought it, so there was none in the secondary market as a result. So I think that's long overdue. I think they could do a nice Cloud City, so look forward to seeing if something like that comes around.
The rumors around there. So anyway, I would love to see more What is Missing articles, but we have to see more movies first, I guess. Am I right?
Yes, I mean, we have got one for The Last Jedi. I think we sort of... It doesn't really feel fair to do those articles until you've given them a chance to produce a couple of waves. So I think in the autumn I'll probably be doing one of those for The Last Jedi, and then Solo a little bit further down the line.
Solo, no solo sets anymore. No. And I would like to ask you one last thing. We have talked last year about Brickset, about the whole process, and you told me last year there is no need to improvement right now, no new layout. Is there any change coming to visitors, or is it still the same the next 10 years?
The layout will stay much the same for the foreseeable future. We'll keep adding little incremental changes to the functionality to improve things, and one thing I want to do is make it easier to find parts, because at the moment we're reliant upon Lego's names and groupings which aren't necessarily logical, so put something there to make it easier to find the parts that you're looking for. That's the next step, I think, really, to do over the summer and into the winter.
It's the best source when you're looking for parts and all the sets. Huw Millington and Chris, I don't even know your last name, but it's CapnRex for us, so it's fine. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Chris, see you next time. Best wishes from Billund.